high equity properties, vacant properties, cash buyers list, who owns the properties, address searches, a deal analyzer, pre-foreclosure listings, foreclosure listings, tax lien properties, auctions, free and clear properties, a CRM system, marketing tools, a rehab calculator, and more. Dealulator.com. Stand by. Let's get it. Hello guys, this is Ty, aka the Flip Man. You know I've been talking about it for months now, and some of you have signed up for the Rehab Calculator through Dealulator.com, and I appreciate it, and I know it's been useful for you, but I've been talking about Dealulator on steroids compared to what you've been using already. If you already signed up for that, well, here it is. High equity properties, vacant properties, cash buyers list, who owns the property, address searches, deal analyzers, pre-foreclosures or just foreclosures, MLS listings, tax lien properties, auctions, free and clear properties, CRM system for contacts and property management, marketing tools, postcards, email, even a voice mail drop system, a rehab calculator, or you can even find phone numbers for sellers through this system. Dealulator.com, you're here, you made it. I'm going to take you through a demonstration on how to actually use the service. Sit back and let's get into this tool. Burton, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much.
And so how's it going, man? I really appreciate you taking the time out to go through this awesome application for many that will watch this today and beyond.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share what I believe is one of the most powerful tools in terms of real estate investing out there. So without further ado, let me just go ahead and dive into it. So what we have here in front of us is our product called PropStream. And the idea behind PropStream is that our company is essentially going out there and aggregating data. Essentially, we're collecting data from multiple different sources, sources such as the brokers and realtors, so we can get you your MLS listings, county records, so we can get pre-foreclosures, properties that are going through auctions, bank-owned properties, in this case, foreclosures. We have information on cash bought properties or properties that have been bought with no mortgages attached to it. We also have liens, involuntary liens, so federal liens, state liens, HOA liens, utility, mechanical liens are what we're able to capture. We also have vacant listings, so we're able through our sources capture properties that have been flagged as vacant. So anybody out there that are looking for that type of lead, we have access to that. And then we also have high equity. So essentially what high equity is, it's through our calculations, we have our own algorithm, but through our calculations, we're able to pinpoint properties that have high equity. In sense, that definition is pretty much properties that have over $100,000 or more in recorded equity. On top of high equity, so these are the major boxes up here at the top. I went from left to right. We do have a few more leads that are hidden. You can find them in the more section. When we click on that, you will see the previous boxes listed at the top. But we also have free and clear listings, bankruptcy listings, divorce listings, and then of course auctions, which was previously there before. So the idea here is whenever a user logs in, the IP address that they're logging in from will be captured, and what you're going to see is the map in front of you. So it's going to zoom into your area. However, you can search anywhere in the United States, but the goal is our system will aggregate data based on the areas that you're typing in. So if we, for example, typed in Atlanta, Georgia, what our system will do is now filter out the different listings up at top. So what we're seeing here is our records. So in Atlanta, Georgia, our records, we've been able to aggregate over 30,000 MLS listing properties. So this includes properties that are active, properties that have been sold, properties that are pending. On top of showing you what has been listed, you'll notice that each address is selectable. So you can click on an individual address and we can look further into the details of that property. So we can see the estimated values, whether it's on market, off market, is it distress? You know, is it also been recorded as a foreclosure or pre-foreclosures? Are there any liens that we should know about that have been recorded on the property? Is it individual owned? And is it owner occupied or not? So essentially, is it an absentee owner or not? The property type, property characteristics. On top of giving you the property characteristics and a quick breakdown of the property, we have access to photos for you. So anybody out there that are hands-on, looking to remodel, they can get access to the MLS listing photos. So here we can see the photos that have been uploaded by the brokers and realtors. Get a better understanding if there's anything on the inside that may need remodeling, anything on the exterior that may need remodeling, or just to essentially get a feel for the property without having to visit it physically. We also have access to a bird's eye view. So if we kind of want to see the area around it, so this area, bunch of shade, would be a good summer place to go. So on top of that, we have what we call the dashboard. This right here captures quick information like the estimated value, the last sell date, and the amount it's sold for. The estimated value within the area or the property, has it decrease or increase over time. So within the past 5 years, we did see a decrease, but now we're seeing an increase. We also have been able to capture the comps or the comparables as you mentioned earlier. So here we can see that the comp values on average are currently declining right now, but we can actually go into further details and take a look at that. I'll go over that in just a second. Here we have the opportunity box. We're able to see the estimated equity, the average monthly rent for such a property that fits this characteristics, if there's a mortgage balance, again, if there's liens against it. Now below the dashboard, what we have here are further information on the property, such as property details, who the current owner is, whether it is an individual or company or corporation. In this case, it's a corporation. And it shows any alternative mailing address. So if this is, for example, if this is a property we were interested in, trying to get a hold of the owner, it would be unreasonable for us to send any contact information to the physical address. It's best that we probably send our marketing or mailing or contact information to their company's PO box address. Down below, we have property characteristics, such as the square footage, total bedrooms, year built, type of wall, building condition, construction style, site information, assessment information. We also have the last sale information, the last sale amount, the last sale date, type of transaction. We also have the prior sale information. So we also have the sale prior to that sell amount, sell date, type of transaction. And last but not least, we also have the location information down below. Also showing school districts, county use codes, subdivision, and census tract. On top of property details, we also have any past records that we are able to pull. So as we can see here, in 2017, there was a cash sale recorded. So the individual in 2017, in this case, Brandon in 2017 purchased the property for $60,000 using a cash sale purchase, essentially no mortgage attached to the purchase. We also have the recorded information down below. Again, if the buyer's information, if he has an alternative address. On top of that, because we selected this property from our MLS results, we also have access to the MLS details that the broker or the agent has provided. So what we see here is what the property was listed for, when it was originally listed, if it's been updated. In this case, it has been updated recently. And then the status of its listing. So right now it's still currently active. However, we do see that its days on market are a little over a year for the time being.
He bought it for $60,000. We don't know what the rehab cost on it was, but he has it listed for $279,000, but it's been on the market for over a year. Wow. Okay.
That's correct. Yeah, and then we can capture the. This is what we call the agent description. Here you're able to see what the agent, who's obviously listing the property, has applied to it. So you'll see things like needs TLC. Sometimes you'll get dimensions, or it's a fixer-upper is a very important description some people look for. We get the agent's property detail information down below, their interior features, exterior features, utilities. Again, we get neighborhood information. And then most importantly, we get the agent's information here as well. On top of the MLS, we have the comparables in nearby listings. Now, this is, again, associated with our dashboard's line graph. By clicking here, we are able to see the 12 properties that we showed you in our dashboard, but now they're individually listed here. Not only are they individually listed, but they're highlighted on the map in correspondence to our property that we've selected. Now, what's also important about this section is that we give the user the ability to implement their own filters. So if you live in a very populated area, maybe reducing the date range instead of utilizing a year, maybe 3 months or 6 months could give you not only lesser results, but kind of give you a more accurate understanding of the current market. We allow you to extend the distance of the radius. Essentially, this is defaulted at a half a mile circle radius around the property, which is suitable for most, again, populated areas. But for any users that might be living in a rural area, they definitely can extend that to, let's say, 0.9. And in doing so, we can see that we've increased the amount of comps in the area. But again, user be wary, you might be dealing with a whole different city or a different subdivision by extending the mileage or the distance. We can get very specific. In this case, we can isolate the square footage. Our property shows 1,700 square footage. We can instruct the system to, in this case, specify only properties that are within 1,500 to 2,000. Same goes for bedrooms and bathrooms. Again, we have a 4-bedroom here, 1 bathroom, so we can do 4-bedroom, 1 bathroom. Now what we've done is we've isolated our list to 12 properties that match those criterias and are within the range of my square footage and also within the year. Now, on top of our comps, now the thing I'd like to point out is the comps come from county records. So these are officially county recorded property comps. But because we have access to the MLS, we are able to show you the MLS comps as well. So these are potential properties that have recently sold that have not yet been recorded at the county office. So essentially the point here is giving your users a more up-to-date analysis of the market and seeing things that may have potentially sold last week or last month that have not yet been recorded at the county level.
Okay, let's just really quick, I just want to emphasize now, guys, you see that you have an opportunity to pull comps from MLS and properties that are recorded at the county, which at the county, obviously everything is recorded because it goes through MLS to the county. But
Absolutely.
if you just want to use MLS listed properties as your measuring stick on how you're evaluating the property, because what we're really just talking about is the ARV, the after repair value. What will it appraise for in excellent condition? So you can really dig into these numbers here where he has it highlighted right now as far as where it's located. You can actually take a look at those properties closer. If he selected one of them and hit details, you can dive into that actual property to see the condition it's in. You can see it has the status of the property as far as sold, because we're on the MLS listing. You can even dive into how far it is from the existing property. If we go back to the 12 comps there. So just everything you need right here to evaluate a property, starting with one of the most important things which is backdooring the deal, knowing what it will appraise for in excellent condition. So I just wanted to point that out.
Absolutely, and great bring up there. So on top of our county recorded comps and our MLS reported comps, you have access to the neighbors. So again, if you want to get a little snoopy and kind of see how the neighbors have been trending, what their properties have been valued at, what they bought it for, if the market of their property values have gone up. You can also look at nearby pre-foreclosures. So for any investors that are skeptical on the market, is this area an area where pre-foreclosures are increasing? If it is, maybe an area we might want to avoid. If it's an area with very minimal amount of pre-foreclosures, that's probably a good sign. Most likely means that buyers are sticking through with their purchases and so forth. Again, we have access to foreclosures, bank-owned properties. We can show you the liens that are essentially around the area. Cash bought properties in the area. This is actually very good too, because again, if this is a property you're interested in, if it's an opportunity, you decide, hey, I want to purchase it. It's good to know that there are cash buyers that are essentially buying properties within your area as well. Again, we can essentially locate potential buyers, potential people that may be interested in what we're willing to offer. We can also show high equity properties, vacant properties, free and clear bankruptcy. So again, the idea here in the comparables tab is to kind of allow your users to see the market around the targeted address that we initially selected. Again, this gives them the ability to kind of analyze the area. We also on our map have the analytics tab. This will allow you to see a heat map based on rental pricing, estimated values, days on market. So again, if I'm interested in utilizing a property as a rental property, I'm able to see on the map here. Let me get that in just I have a lot of data in this area here. I'll let that populate in just a second, but I'll speak on through. So again, the idea here is to give the users a visualization of the area without having to physically visit or anything like that. Now, to the right of our comparables and nearby listing tabs, we have our tax information. I also find this very, very, very useful. The reason being is if you come across a property owner that might have multiple addresses, you might discover that where they're receiving their tax bill mailing, or their tax bill is being sent to an alternative mailing address. So in this case, our mailing address for the tax bill matches the mailing address for the listed property, which is a good sign, meaning that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that just really quick, Burton, is that when people are driving, what we call driving for dollars, they'll get the address, and which this system is so easy to look up that information, because even on the search page, you can see that the targeted address is different from the property address. So as far as I'm sorry, the target address is different from their mailing address. So a lot of times the first thing they want to know is, how can I contact that individual? Well, ideally what you want to look for, if it's a vacant property, maybe looks like it's distressed or whatever, ideally, in most cases, it's different from the address that you're targeting. Not always, but in most cases. So it makes it real simple, but which it does that even when you first do the initial search. But the tax information is normally where I refer people to either look up the tax assessor's office in their market for the county or whatever, and it'll normally provide that information, even though a lot of those sites are not user friendly, but this one is. So
absolutely. Here down below we have the tax information from prior years as well. To the right of our tax information, we have our mortgage information. So again, we can see who the previous mortgages were held at, who were the lenders, and the loan amount. Transaction history, pretty much the same as the mortgage information, but it pretty much breaks down not just the mortgage information, but in this case, transaction, which is like the cash recorded transaction. So again, Brandon had purchased this in cash in 2017 using the amount of $60,000. So we have that here. So that's pretty much the property details. Now, again, for any of our categories that you choose from, so that was MLS, if we were to select pre-foreclosures, again, we will isolate the results in that area. You'll see them on your right. We can individually click on that property, take a look at the details, take a look at the recorded pre-foreclosure details. So in this case, we see that this property does have an auction date coming up. We can see the MLS details. We can see that it was, it's actually also not only in pre-foreclosure, but it looks like the owner is also trying to list it to maybe resolve the situation. As of right now, it's still active, a little bit over 100 days in the market. Comparatives, comparables, again, tax information. If we're looking to perhaps get a hold of the owner, rather than have to get it through the listing or have to go to the courthouse to get it that way, we can perhaps look at the tax information, capture the address that the tax bill is going to, and maybe negotiate with the owner directly. Again, mortgage information here, transaction history, document type. So this is what you're going to see across all of the categories. Any type of cash buyers, again, you can see the details there. One thing that you'll see that's very dynamic is the tabs between property details and comparables will change depending on the listing type. So in this case, we've clicked on a cash buyer. You'll see a cash sale tab. Also, this property was listed on the MLS, previously listed. So you'll also see the MLS tab here. So in this case, we see that it was previously listed and when it sold for. Again, the two center tabs, or actually multiple tabs, are dynamic. And just to give you an example of that, so here we have cash sale and MLS because we clicked on the cash buyers, but if we clicked on liens and looked at a property there, you'll notice now the tab has changed to liens, and we're able to see the recorded lien information there. When the lien was recorded, the lien amount, the interest rate, who recorded the tax lien, and so forth. All right, so actually now I want to dive in a little bit on the analysis wizard. This is a very common tool that's used across the board. So what I like to do is let's try looking for a distressed property. So here, let's just take a look here, and we'll use the analysis wizard. Let's find one with a picture. Here we go.
Hey, before you do that, let's just show them simply, like we did a market search on Atlanta, Georgia. Let's just do an actual address, like the address here at the top that you're looking at right now, the 115. Yeah. Let's just copy that address and show them how you just simply search in the search engine.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great idea. So let me do that really quick. Ferry Road, Northwest Atlanta, 30327. Okay, so let's assume we already have our addresses in our hands. So rather than typing a zip code or a city, as you see that I've done in the past, we can, in this case, type in the physical address. And as you can see, it identified the address, auto-populated for me. So if I click on that, two things will happen. It's going to take the zip code that we've entered and auto-populate the fields for me. So pretty much just giving me an idea of the area, how many MLSs have been listed in the area, how many pre-foreclosures, and so forth. But to the right is the property that we physically searched. You'll be able to see here a quick breakdown, property characteristics. We can again dive into the details of the property by clicking details. We can look at the comps and so forth. Also, I wanted to highlight at the very bottom here, you're also able to see the neighboring homes, the MLS listings in the area, neighboring MLS, neighboring pre-foreclosures and foreclosures. Again, another visualization of the area. And then right under the map, we have what we call the statistics page. Based on all the data that we've been able to aggregate, our algorithms are able to spit you out essentially statistics. So for this area, in this case, zip code 30327, we're able to see that there was a growth in price changes in the last 30 days. So for investors that are interested in this area, that's a good sign. Any investors that are renting out property, we see that there has been a growth in rental property prices in the last 30 days. We can see the price per square footage has increased from last year to this year. It looks like last year was $255. This year we're at $272. Good increase. Average days on market, what this field shows you pretty much is how long on average when a property is listed, it will last on market. So by highlighting one bedroom, I'm able to see that the average days on market for a single bedroom property is 68 days. For 2 bedroom, it's 94. 3 bedrooms is 103 days. 4 bedrooms, 113 days. Again, this is giving you an idea on how long it will potentially take for an investment property to flip if we were to list it on the MLS. Market trend, how many listings? So in this case, we have an increase in listings, a decrease in closed sales. We can see a decrease in pre-foreclosures in the area, an increase in average monthly rent. And again, it's broken down into bedroom values. Listing trends, essentially how many homes for sale. Looks like there's been a decrease in homes for sale. The average listing price has increased. The average listing price per square footage has increased, and we can confirm that based on the bar graph above. The average days on market has decreased, and that's a good sign. Again, we want to make sure that these properties that we are investing into are getting out of our hands as fast as possible. List price versus sell price. Green represents the list price. Sell price is represented in gray. And then we have our sales trend. Home sold has decreased. Average home sold dollar value has decreased. So forth and so forth. And then again, days on market has increased a little bit in terms of sell trends. This report can be printed out, so if anybody is, looking to persuade a lender or an investor, a partner per se, a buyer, a seller, this report can be printed out to use in your arsenal when presenting your reports. And actually, since we're on the map, I want to kind of revert and talk about the analytics again. With all the data that we've collected, not only do we have the statistics portion for you, but we have the analytics. Again, it's pretty much a heat map. In this case, we can break down the heat map into different categories. Like I can tell the system, show me a heat map based on estimated values. And if I zoom out, what we'll see is a nice little color scheme, a heat map, essentially. And looks like I'm going too fast a little bit, so I'm going to slow down here. There we go. So, like personally, I've never been to Atlanta, Georgia, but simply by looking at our algorithm and looking at the heat map, I can tell where the higher valued homes are. In this case, red representing 1 million or more versus the lower valued properties. This is good to know. So if I'm an out-of-state investor and I have certain budget I'm working with, let's say my budget is, 600,000, 700,000, I probably don't want to focus on blues. I don't want to focus on reds. So I can zoom in on an area that fits my color criteria. So in this case, I can, focus on Johns Creek. And again, I live in California. I've never been to Atlanta, but now I can see, an area that fits my capital, my budget. On top of that, we can change the analytics or the heat map to show, MLS status, square footage.
Really quick, this is a great way, which you're going to get even more detailed on it, of determining what area you may want to target depending on what your goals are as far as moving deals.
Absolutely.
Talking more so in the wholesale sense, but it can be used for your retail flips and rentals. But just using that heat map, you can see where the lower price houses are, but that was the map that he just showed you was based on estimated values. The properties in the red were, as he said, maybe over $1 million or so. And then as you go down to the lighter blues, that may be the properties that are, will be the properties that are under $100,000. So it gives you an idea how to target that, which we're going to get. He's going to get a little more detail than that, depending on what you're trying to do. So
Correct. And then again, with all the information that we've aggregated, we have several types of categories to choose from, estimated value over square footage. They kind of bounce across one another. So again, here I'm able to see an area that fits my budget by looking at a color scheme. Not only, in this case, am I able to identify an area that I'm interested in, but I'm also able to look at the potential growth in that area. So now that I know, Johns Creek is an area that I like to focus on, I can see the growth of Johns Creek in the past year. So I can see here that, blue represents 100% of loss, 100, and red represent 100% growth. So I can see that Johns Creek has been pretty much stagnant. If I zoom in further, I can see that there are certain areas in Johns Creek that are actually growing a dark color. Essentially, what that's representing is that an area, for example, here just south of State Bridge Road, it seems to be changing to a dark color. So essentially, it's showing me that there's growth in this area. That might be in an area where I would want to focus my investment on. Yeah. We also, again, have rental value. So if we're not, buying and flipping, let's say we're buying and utilizing as, rental income, we can see rental values. We can see the rent price. Again, we can see what the values are. So I can see that blue represents, rental prices of $500 or less. Red represents rental prices of, $5,000 or more. So again, in this area, based on the color code, I can assume that rental prices are pretty, aggressive. Maybe we're talking in the $2,000, $3,000 range for that area. So again, I'm able to pinpoint an area that meets my, my capital or my budget. I'm able to view the growth over a certain amount of time, 1 month, 6 months, over 5 years. And then I'm also able to view rental prices. So again, within a few clicks, I've already been able to analyze that area and whether it's an aggressive area, aggressive market for me to focus on or not.
So you guys, you can do this with, like, this is a targeted address here, the 1145 West Paces Ferry Road. So it's based on that particular area or whatever. But if you want to do a city or if you want to do a zip code or whatever, you can extend it out a little bit more. So, but this is based on this address and properties within a certain range of this particular address. So.
Perfect. And okay, so on top of the analytics, I want to dive into the details really quick and talk a little bit about our analysis wizard. So I know that a lot of users are, again, flippers. They look for distressed properties. They buy them. Actually, you know what? Let's use a more realistic example because I don't think people are buying $10 million houses on a day-to-day. So let's grab maybe a property that's in pre-foreclosure here. And yeah, this one seems nice. Actually, this one seems even better. Okay. All right. So here we can see good things. So market has increased in the year. Comps have increased. So definitely already just based on the dashboards, a prime target. Here we can see. So let's go ahead and use the analysis here. So first off, it's going to ask us questions. And I like the analysis because it's almost like a setup wizard. What type of property is this going to be? Is this an investment property? Or this is a personal property? In this case, it's an investment property. It's going to ask you questions like, is there an amount of default? This information can be gathered, again, in the pre-foreclosure details here. So here we don't see any recorded amount of default, which is good. So we don't need to include that in our analysis wizard. So we can essentially either keep it at 0 or just hit no. So again, purchase price. So let's say we negotiate a good deal. The current estimated market value is $741, but let's say we were perfect. Okay, so let's say we are the best negotiators in the world. We got it at $400,000. I take it we want to do some improvements. How much do you want to put in there? $150. Okay, I'm referring to $150,000. I take it, right? All right. So here, and if we can break it down into more details, if we apply a value here, it's simply just going to go into others. But for those that are really hands-on, they literally can get into the details by applying in the door, equipment, fireplace, so forth and so forth. But one thing to note is that when we do apply values, in this case, if I change it to 170 instead and click outside the box, you'll notice the screen on the right will auto calculate your values. So we can see that the out of pocket increased by 20,000. If we lowered it back down to 150, it should drop down to 158. So you can see that our calculations are going along with you. After we're done with the purchase information, the next field is the mortgage information. Now, this is very important. So for investors out there that don't have the luxury of buying a property in cash, they can apply their mortgage information that they'll be utilizing. This is good to know, this is good to implement because you, once again, if you know the days on market is going to be 6 months, it's good to apply your mortgage information so that our system can calculate the expenses within those 6 months. Because again, someone's going to need to pay for that mortgage within that time frame. So
we're assuming this is a cash deal, though. There's no
absolutely. So assuming that this is a cash deal, we don't have a mortgage amount, so we're going to want to put 0 there. There's no fixed interest, of course. There's no need to apply a first mortgage payment or compound interest. So we're just going to go straight to the next page. Here we'll get a visual summary of the first mortgage information that we have applied. Now, if we did put an amount, you'll see that here, down payment rate. One thing to note is that if you did apply information, we do have a feature that will amortize the schedule for you. So if you are making extra payments, it will break down those extra payments for you and show you a visualization of your schedule. We also have closing costs here. Now, the closing cost value you see here is automatically defaulted. Now, these are national averages. Obviously, they will range based on area and based on the property value. So you want to make sure you scrutinize this area a little bit more and just make sure you have the right values that are essentially meeting in your area or that fit your area. So once we're done reviewing the mortgage information and applying our closing costs, we want to go ahead and go to the next page. Here, this is the page as if we're, again, using it as an income property. So if we're deciding to rent it out, we can apply our rental amount. We can break down the rooms into certain rooms so we can rent out, you know, one room for one amount, next room for another amount. But in this particular example, we're not using it as a rental property. We're essentially buying, rehabbing, and flipping. So in this case, our rental income would be 0. We're not renting it out. There's no annual increase, of course, so we're just going to go ahead and go to the next page. Here, we're going to have to calculate our expenses. So again, if you know the property is going to, you know, sit on the market for, you know, anywhere between 4 to 6 months, you probably want to include any expenses that may come out of pocket within that time frame, such as trash, water, gas, electricity, and so forth. If you know that you're going to keep the property for a little bit more than a few months, you can apply the annual expense increase amount as well, or just a fixed dollar. In this case, we'll just leave the values the way they are and assume that fits our area. So here we can go to this area, and this is very important. This is the area for, again, individuals that are buying with cash, rehabbing, and then flipping. So the first thing you want to make sure is that you implement your starting price. So here it automatically does that for us. What this value is our purchase price, which was implemented on page 1. So again, if our purchase price was $500,000 on the sell screen, that will be $500,000. So that's essentially telling our system, okay, we invested this much, that's our starting price. And then right below that, we can put our fixed selling price. So we can either again, we can do market value increase rate, cap rate, inflation rate, or we can just give it a selling price and say, hey, you know what? I bought it for $400,000, and based on the estimated market value of $741, you know, I want to list it for $750. All right. Perfect. And then from there, we can do sell costs if there's going to be a cost percentage, any tax gains and so forth, depreciation if we want to get into that. But this is the part that we probably want to look into. So in this case, it's automatically defaulted into 5 years, but because we know that the property is most likely going to sell, you know, 6 months out, we can instead change it from 5 years to 6 months. and let's say our first mortgage payment, or actually we don't have a mortgage, so we can ignore that. So we're going to go ahead and just go directly to next. And now we can see our sales analysis here. All right, so here's a breakdown of our purchase price, the amount of improvements we've applied, any expenses up front that we've applied, our tax gains, any monthly income and expenses, and then again, our sell price, and then our net profit loss and so forth. And that's all broken down into the time frame that we applied. So in this case, we did 6 months. So being that today is June, we have July, August, September, October, November, and December. Again, a great report to show people how much that will be coming out of pocket from now until the property has sold.
Right. Let me just go back to the finish screen before this one, before you hit the download right here. So their actual I think we're missing something here. Total return, because they wouldn't have made 500. I think you put 40,000 in there instead of 400.
400,000.
150. Okay, go back to the sale page.
Yep, absolutely. Let me just make sure all my fields are in there. Just want to make sure. Oh, you know what? Here we go. That's where the error was. We had a mortgage amount in there. So let me go in there. There we go. So I'm sorry about it. It calculated the mortgage that we had. So good catch. Good catch there. I would have thrown everything out. So again, our base value, what we invested, 400,000, plus the $150,000 in remodeling. So you can see the out of pocket here, plus the expenses, which are in the expense screen, what our fixed selling price is going to be, and then what our total return will be. And then let's just go back. Let's go back to the report page, because that probably, I know viewers are probably like, well, that report looked weird because of that, but I want to generate that new report now. So again, same thing, purchase price improvement amount, 6 months. And then now we're seeing the correct net profit loss without the mortgage information applied. So we can see here, in the course of 6 months, how much value we're losing the longer it stays on market. All right, and so that's pretty much our analysis wizard. Now, again, on top of the property sale report, we have the taxes and deductions. Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, before you go into that, I have to break it down for them, because you may not understand it, but they're coming from a lot of these people that are watching this. Then they're coming from a flipper's mindset, but a wholesaler's mindset, who are actually feeding the flipper the deal. So they have to understand how they're going to make their money here. So just assuming we got it, you had it on the contract for 400,000. You see the flipper could make what is that, 188,000 basically on the property, right? That's highlighted. So that's where you would build in your money in that sense. So instead of him making 188, you may have wholesaled it to him for 440. You walked away with 40, and he would have made 148 or whatever. So, but this helps you break it down from their standpoint or their view, because at the end of the day, it matters how much money they make, and then you're going to chip off of that. So they'll understand what I'm talking about there, Bert. So, but you can go ahead.
Yeah, and that's pretty much our analysis. Again, when you finish, it breaks down each report tab individually, or we can do a complete analysis report. This right here will feature every report on one little portfolio for you. So our purchase information, the purchase analysis, improvement analysis. In this case, it breaks down. Since we did other, it just kept it there, income analysis and so forth. So again, great for reporting, especially if you're trying to present this information to lenders, buyers, sellers, and so forth. I do want to talk a little bit more, back to the property page or the details page. I do want to talk a little bit more about your more hands-on viewers or consumers that are going to be utilizing our product. Our company does have a rehab calculator here.
Before you go into that, this is very important because for wholesalers and flippers outlets, but even with wholesalers, in order for them to, which they'll know what I'm talking about, you have your formula 70% of ARV minus repairs. They need to understand, they need to have a good source so they can calculate repairs, because you have to have an idea of what it's going to cost the rehabber or the flipper to fix the property, so you can build that in with your negotiations whenever you're actually trying to do a deal. So what he's about to do now is to go into the rehab calculator that comes, implemented within the system here.
Absolutely. So let's use the same address. I'm assuming this is an address we're interested. Comps are great. The analysis wizard report shows that we're going to get a good gain on it. But we see that there's some remodeling that needs to be done. So our rehab calculator is hosted by a third party called Blue Hammer. The first thing it's going to ask us to do is make sure that we save the property. You want to make sure that you save that. Otherwise, running these reports will obviously just be a waste of time if we don't do that. So we'll do Atlanta, and we'll save that. And then we're going to go ahead and jump straight into our rehab calculator here.
So the property has to be saved in order to access the rehab calculator.
Absolutely. All right. So once we hit the rehab calculator, we'll be redirected to Blue Hammer's homepage. Here we'll be able to either start a new project or open any existing products that we may have. In this case, we don't have any. So we're going to go ahead and create a new project. We can name that new project. So let's say I wanted to remodel the kitchen, for example. So we're going to go ahead and call this project the kitchen project. Let's go. All right, so now we're on the rehab page. Now you're going to see two options. You can either search by popular projects, or you can search by individual actions. Now the difference between the two is popular projects will automatically incorporate parts, labor, and so forth, versus individual actions. Individual actions, you're literally hands-on. You're doing every item line by line by line by line. So again, it really boils down to the more experienced rehabbers versus ones that are just rehabbing based on popular projects that normally occur in the area. So in this case, let's just do popular projects. And since I was wanting to remodel the kitchen, I'm going to want to choose kitchen from the different categories that we have. So we do have appliances, bathroom ceilings, decks and patios, driveways, walkways, patios, flooring, garage, home theater, kitchens, lighting, electrical, painting, exterior and interior. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and click on kitchen. And when we click on that category, it's going to break down the most common things that one would want to rehab in the kitchen. So we have cabinets and countertops, cooktops, dishwashers, faucets and sinks, garbage disposals, microwaves, range hood, ranges, refrigerators, wall ovens. In this particular case, I want to do cabinets and countertops. So when I click on that, I'm going to be able to click on next. And here, it's going to give us the basic criteria a kitchen would normally have. So as we replace the cabinets and countertops, is it a small kitchen, 10 by 10, for example? Is it a medium-sized kitchen, 12 by 15 with an island in the center? Is it a larger kitchen, 15 by 20 with an island in the center? Now, again, this is very good information to know, good information to apply. One way we can find out is we can click on the photos that we have here. So in this case, we can see the photo, take a look at the kitchen. Oh, looks like that doesn't look like an island there. Let me get another angle here. No, okay, so it's just this table. So based on those photos, I know that it's most likely a 10 by 10 without an island, right? So we'll go there and click next. Next question is, what type of product do we want? Do we want a good one, a better one, name brand one, designer, and so forth? So in this case, I don't want to spend too much on rehabbing. We're just going to go with good. And the last thing it's going to ask is, where are these repairs going to be made? Obviously, we're going to make them in the kitchen, but you'd be surprised. You have the option to put them in other places, but we're going to go ahead and put kitchen. And when I do that, Blue Hammer has now, through their system, calculated the cost for me. Now, what we're seeing here is the estimate for doing what we wanted to do, is rehab the kitchen, countertops, and cabinets. Now, we can break down the project via details by showing the line items. So here we can see, again, line item, mask, and cover walls for how many we'll need, price per unit, the total for that, faucet information. And as we go down, we're able to see why that total was that total. We can also see the project report here.
Now, of course, I guess like with countertops and cabinets and things like that, it's going to depend on the type of house you're talking about also.
Absolutely.
And then the area. So that you always have to keep that in mind. So if you know you're in an area where $12,000 worth of cabinets and countertops are really not needed, you may say 3,000, so. But you can break it down into A neighborhoods, B neighborhoods, C neighborhood, D neighborhood if you want.
Correct. And the important thing about Blue Hammer is they just like us aggregate information, pricing, labor costs, and whatnot. So the prices that you see here in front of us are to the zip code. These aren't national averages. These aren't state averages. These are averages based on the zip code of the property that you're on. And this is why it's imperative that you have to save the property prior to running the report. That way, Blue Hammer can take the pricing and the labor costs for that area and calculate it within your report. Now, not only are you able to see the total cost of what that project will take or what it will be, but you're also able to see the cost if you were to do it yourself. So essentially, this cost is without any labor involved. Now, again, this is important, especially when you're dealing with contractors. I know most investors have dealt with contractors that usually give you rough estimates. With Blue Hammer, featured within our application, we're able to see local level pricing. At the end of the day, that allows us to have the leverage back in our hands, preventing any contractors from, taking us on a ride, essentially, or in this case, saying that the project should cost $1,500 or $15,000 rather than the local level of $1,100. So very important there. We can, again, print this estimate if we wanted to, either through our printer or create a PDF and so forth. And let me leave that screen. And here's the cool thing too. So if we end up, wanting to add more, so let's say we're not done yet. Let's say on top of the kitchen, we also wanted to do bathroom. We can stack projects. So again, we go back to popular projects, click on bathroom. We can do, shower and tub combo. We're going to replace it with the most affordable one. Instead of using natural stone, we're going to use the fiberglass version. Again, the type of material, do you want the best of the best there is to offer at the store? Or do you want to go for the more basic, more affordable projects? Again, as you were saying, Ty, it really depends on the area. If you're in an area that doesn't require the fancier stuff, you probably don't want to select best. Probably want to select good. And again, you also want to be concerned about the expenses. This is coming out of your pocket at the end of the day there and taking away from your return. So once we select that, where were these repairs like to be performed? And boom. So now we can see our costs as increase. We can break it up by line item. So here we see the bathroom project and the bathroom breakdown with the bathroom total cost separated versus the kitchen breakdown and the costs separated as well. And then there is our project report. Again, our do-it-ourselves costs, contractors' costs. All right. Now, if the cool thing too is because we save the property and because it's tied into our system, if we end up leaving the Blue Hammer report and let's say, we sign off, log back in, go back to our property that we select on, what you'll notice is that report has been saved in your Documents and Reports tab. So here, not only do we have the reports from the analysis that we ran, but we also have our Blue Book report that we're able to view in a PDF format here. All right, so there's no need to go back and run the report or any of that. I mean, you can, but you go from there. All right, so that's pretty much what our CAN searches, what they do. Again, these will auto filter depending on the the zip code that you're selecting. So if I select San Jose, our system is going to show you how many MLSs we've been able to aggregate from that area. If I type in Atlanta. But on top of that, what I believe our system, what makes our system very, very, very powerful is the more section. So the more section is an area where our users can implement very specific criteria. So I'm going to run a few examples with you right now. And so let's use Atlanta, Georgia again. And I'm going to use a theoretical situation. So Georgia, here we go. So let's say I'm interested in finding a distressed property, right? And let's say, I'm interested in finding properties that have a tax lien against them. Now, if I type in Atlanta, Georgia, I'm going to see that we have over 20,000 recorded tax lien. And it would be a disservice for my time to go through them one at a time. So what our more section allows us to do is, instead of going through the results one at a time, our more section allows us to implement a criteria that's specifically designed for us, right? So in this case, I'm looking for liens, preferably single family residents that are 3 bedrooms with 2 bathrooms. Not only do I want those particular criteria, but I also want the owner to have lived there for a minimum of maybe 5 years. On top of the owner living there for 5 years, I also prefer them to be out of state. Maybe it's a little bit easier to negotiate with someone that's living out of state than living in state.
So not really years of living there, but years of ownership.
Correct, yeah. So they've owned this property for 5 years, but they are registered out of state. Or if I don't want to do out of state, I can do owned it for 5 years, but it's not owner occupied. So essentially absentee owners, right? They own the property, they've owned it for 5 years, but they don't live there. So we can do that as well.
So it actually can be out of, at that point, once you do the no on owner occupied, it could be in state or out of state.
That's correct. Or we can do not owner occupied and the owner that's, registered the property is out of state. Correct. So we can do variations of criteria. Again, no two investors, I believe, have the same criteria. But on top of that, 5-year ownership, whether it's owner occupied or not, in this case, we want absentee owners. We can also do the lien amount. So I'd like to identify properties that have a tax lien with a minimum of $15,000 recorded against them. And again, it has to be a tax lien. So once I've implemented my criteria, again, I can go into the value, whether it's grown over time, over a certain amount of time frame. I can put, I want it to have a certain amount of equity here, minimum amount of equity. But as of now, I'm just going to use these basic results. But when I hit apply, what we've now done is we've isolated 86 properties from the 20,000 results that we pulled in Atlanta. Now, these 86 properties meet our criteria. So as we can see here, our criteria is 3 bedrooms or more. We have 6 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms or more. The lien amount had to be 15,000 or more. Again, this may seem like out of our range. So again, if you don't want to deal with the $1 million properties, we can go and cap out our liens. So we can do 15,000 to 25,000 in terms of a registered lien against the property. And by that, we were, again, now reducing our results. So instead of 86 results that encompass some of the $1 million properties or the properties that had $1 million liens against them, we're now isolating 20 of the 20,000 that have $15,000 to $25,000 of a lien against them, federal tax lien, and it meets our criteria in terms of bedrooms and bathrooms. And if we click on them, and just to verify, last sell date, 2013, John is the owner. If we do the math, this year is 2018. He's owned it for 5 years. So that's what makes our system powerful. In a matter of a few clicks, what we've done is we've siphoned through all the data that you can aggregate yourself at the county's office in a matter of seconds. And now we've pinpointed 20 properties that we can now directly market to and go from there. Right. Now, one thing to note too is I know that some users are constant investors. They'll want to invest, they invest all year long. Again, it can be repetitive by having to go in the more section every day and implement your criteria. Our system does allow you to save a template. So I'm going to actually show you that right now. The first thing you want to do is make sure that you're cleared out. Then go to the more section and implement your specific criteria. So we're going to use the same one we did earlier. Liens, single family, 3 bedrooms or more, 2 bathrooms. Owner has to live there a minimum of 5 years. I prefer an absentee owner, so please not owner occupied. And again, I would like it to be in the amount of $15,000 or $25,000 of a tax lien recorded against the property. Now, when I hit apply, obviously nothing happens, but what's happening is our system is storing that information. So if we go back, you'll see that it's still there. But now we can save that template. So you're going to want to hit the Save Search button here at the top. We're going to want to name that. So I can do lien template. I can put some descriptions here. So 3 bed, 2 bath, 5 years ownership, 15 to 25K tax lien, and maybe absentee. I also have the option to replace any of these boxes on the home page. So again, for anyone that may not be interested in any of the criteria that we've implemented, so let's say I'm not interested in vacant properties, I have the luxury in replacing that box with my criteria. All right. If I don't decide to replace a box, any template that you save will be stored in the All Searches folder for you. So on top of replacing a potential box or not replacing a box, our system also has a notification alert, an alert system essentially. So what we can tell the system to do is either email our username immediately when a property that meets our criteria populates in that area. We can have it email us on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. So the idea is, if any new property that fits your particular criteria populates in the next few days after you've implemented it, by selecting one of these options, our system will notify you via email. That way, whether you're out and about, you'll know that something new has been recorded. So in this case, we'll leave it at never for the time being, but let's go ahead and do that. So what we've done is we've saved our template. You'll see that our template is here in our folder. Again, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathroom, 5 years ownership, 15 to 25K tax lien with absentee owners. Now, anytime I type in a city or zip code, rather than going to the more section and implementing my criteria, I can just click on all searches and click on my template. And now my template is automatically populating my results. Not only is this good with saving time and preventing the repetitive motion of inputting your criteria, but since my template is saved, I can go now into any area. So I can type in Miami, Florida. Oh, sorry, my spelling is bad. Oh. And then apply my criteria. And unfortunately, my criteria does not match Miami, Florida. But maybe if we try San Jose, California, I can see if my criteria matches there. I can go into all searches, type my template, and I see that my criteria in the city of San Jose, California yields 62 results. Again, the idea is for anyone that's investing in multiple areas that has a specific criteria, you can save that criteria, and then you can start utilizing that criteria in multiple areas by simply saving it and just typing away the zip codes or cities.
Show them how to change the tab under.
Oh, absolutely. Again, so if your criteria is something you're going to be using frequently, and let's say you're not interested in any of the MLS listings, you can go to your all searches. You'll see a plus button to the far left. By selecting that, I have now the option to replace any of the boxes above. So in this case, we're going to use MLS. We're going to replace MLS. And when I hit save, are you sure you want to do that? Yes, I do. And now you'll see my template is the first box. Again, anytime I type in an area, my template, my criteria is now the first box. I can click on that and see my template, my criteria, and the results I would get in Los Angeles, California. Or I can, again, let's go back to Atlanta, Georgia. That box will populate based on my results. And let's try another area just for kicks. So Denver, Colorado, I got 5 there. So that's, again, just an example of how powerful our system can be. One thing that you'll know is that, again, no two investors have the same criteria. So our more section is really where most of your time is going to be spent. This is an area where you can apply multiple criterias, multiple variations, combinations of searches, and so forth. All right, now that we've talked about searching, the details, the analysis wizard, the rehab calculator, saving a template, in this case, saving a template for distressed properties, we now have the ability to isolate those results and save them into what we call the properties page. And you'll see that on our left-hand side. This is our toolbar. It usually starts with searching. In this case, this is what we were doing earlier. If I was interested in these 5 properties and I wanted to save them, you'll notice that every address will have a box next to them. So I can save them individually, or I can highlight them all and save them. Let me actually get to an area with a lot more results, because I want to show how we can append information here. So, okay, let me select these 32 in Los Angeles, and we can save that to a list here. All right, so let me go ahead and create a list. Los Angeles liens. Right. Again, so once we save the list, we'll be able to identify our groups in our list that we've saved here. So here are all the properties I've saved over the course of my time using this product. Here we have the Los Angeles liens that I've saved. These were the properties that fit my criteria. What's important here on our properties page is, again, it allows you to group the properties that you're saving. So whether it's properties that have liens, or a group of cash buyers, or a group of vacant properties, the properties page will actually monitor your listings and your groups. So obviously over the course of a few days while you're researching, things might happen to the properties that you have saved. So our property page will actually monitor any new recordings that occur, any recently sold, any status changes, or any properties that potentially might be going to auction. So by selecting these boxes, it will isolate the 16 properties that are within my totality. So in this case, out of the 523 groups I have, 16 of them have had new recordings. So from here, I can either highlight them individually, I can highlight them together, I can remove them, I can isolate them into a new group, I can isolate them into a marketing list, or I can export them onto an Excel sheet. And so that's actually a very important piece here. I do know that a lot of our customers, once they save, they like to export the information, get it to a team member, or maybe a marketing team member. So when you hit the export button, our system will generate you an Excel sheet. And here we go. And here we see a breakdown of our property addresses, city, last sale date, owner information, and so forth. Again, this is for any individuals that have their own marketing elements, or need the use of an Excel sheet for other applications or whatever use they can think of, maybe for organizing purposes as well. All right, so let's go ahead and not save that. All right. So again, we went from searching, looking at the details, looking at the comps, running an analysis wizard, utilizing the Rehab Calculator, saving a template, isolating our results, now saving our results into property groups or different groups. After doing that, one thing most people will identify when using our system is that most recordings don't have contact information. And what I mean by that is we don't see emails in the owner information. We don't see emails. We don't see phone numbers. But our system has a contacts page that will allow you to edit any of the property information that you've saved. So any groups that you've saved, this area will allow you to get to essentially isolate those addresses, click on them, and apply any information you're able to capture on your own, such as emails and phone numbers, or if you want to edit any mailing addresses or property addresses. Or, and I think this is probably one of our most powerful features out there, we have the ability to append information for you. Essentially, appending is gathering emails, landlines, and cell phones for you. So I'd like to show a quick example of that really quick. So in this case, what we want to do is we want to go to the contacts page, locate the append jobs section, and start a new list. Here it's going to briefly discuss what the append jobs feature does for you. The first thing you want to do is select your contacts. So when we click on that, it's going to have us select from our contacts page, our properties page, or our marketing list. So we're going to go ahead and isolate the Los Angeles listings that we created. Here we're able to see all the individuals that we had on our list. We can deselect them if we don't want them to be sent. So if, for example, if I'm trying to ignore businesses, I can deselect any business names that I see here. If I obviously want to select them all, once I'm done selecting my list, we're going to want to add the list.
Yeah, Bert, that was one thing you didn't show is that you can, whenever you doing your Moore's page, you can deselect, you can choose between corporation or individual.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want me to go back there really quick to show that section? Yeah, absolutely. What Ty is pretty much bringing up is in our more section, again, for those that have very specific criteria, one of the most popular features out there in terms of our criteria is ownership type. So here we can isolate whether we want the property to be corporate owned or individual owned. Now, this is great information, especially if maybe we're searching for cash buyers. Maybe we feel that cash buyers that are corporate owned are more, or corporate cash buyers are more aggressive than individual cash buyers. So having this filter is, again, very, very important. So in what my example was, if I was an individual that did not want corporations, as a result, I want to make sure I specify individuals.
And one thing when you're bringing up cash buyers, like if you did a search for cash buyers for a particular property that you're trying to move as wholesalers, what you could do is create a group for that, and then you can append for their phone numbers also.
Absolutely. You know what? Let's do that. I think that's a great bring up. So, okay, let's backtrack a little bit. So we utilized our template for liens, right? And that was, if you go back here, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. So let's use that in our advantage. So here's an example. Let's say we're looking for cash buyers now, right? So we have our properties that we found that we're going to invest on, but now we need to find buyers. So let's create a new template. Let's go to more. We're going to want to look for cash buyers that are buying 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and of course, single family properties. And then we can apply that. And then we can save that template. So here we're going to put cash buyers. Or we put my cash buyers so we don't confuse it with the original one. And then we can put 3 bedrooms, 2 bath. And then we can even replace a box that we don't need. So let's replace the pre-foreclosure box. So it's right next to our first box. I don't need to be notified, so let's go ahead and save that. And yeah. All right, now here's the cool part, right? So now we have a template for our distressed properties that we're going to be finding that fit our criteria. Now we have a template where we've used the criteria in terms of property characteristics to hunt down cash buyers. So now when I type in Atlanta, Georgia, I'm able to isolate the 27 properties that meet my criteria for the liens that I'm looking for. So these are the distressed properties I want to get out of the owner's hands. And these 11,000 results are the cash buyers that are buying those properties that match the characteristics. So as we can see here, these are the cash buyers that are buying 4 or 3 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. And as we can see, those characteristics match our template's characteristics. 4 bedrooms, 2.5, 4 bedrooms. So literally in a matter of a few clicks, we've been able to use our criteria to isolate distressed properties and use that same criteria to isolate potential buyers that are willing to potentially buy those properties.
Okay. So can we append? We can append some of those.
Absolutely. So let's go back to California. We saved the 32. We obviously want to find cash buyers in California. So here, let me click on that really quick. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to save let's just save the first 100 here. Let me save the first 100. You can only save up to 100 at a time. So do note that. So I'm going to save the first 100. Even though I've selected all of them, when I hit the save button, it only caps at 100. For any individuals that need to save more than 100, you might want to create a list. The list will allow you to save up to 1,000. So again, if you're looking to save more than 100 properties at a time, click add to lists rather, and that will give you up to 1,000. Okay, so now that we've saved our liens group, we've saved our cash buyers group, we can now go to the contacts page and gather some phone numbers for those individuals. So again, we're going to locate the append jobs section in the lower left side. We're going to want to hit add new. We're going to want to select our groups. We're going to go ahead and select our first group, which is the properties with liens. I'm going to highlight every one of them and shove them down to the list below. Once we do that, we're going to go ahead and hit done. Again, we can modify if we need to remove them, if we wanted to. In this case, we want them all. We can modify one more time, or we can go next. All right, here is the breakdown. So it's 10 cents per phone number, 10 cents per email. In this case, we can instruct the system for all of our properties to gather one landline, or try to gather one landline for every one of the addresses we have. We can try to gather, in this case, I want to try to gather as many cell phones as I can for all the addresses. Same goes for email addresses. This part is very, very important. This section will ask you whether you want to scrub your list on the do not call, the national do not call list. If not, if you don't want to scrub the list, so let's say you want to ignore that, you are going to get a disclaimer, pretty much explaining the liabilities that you are ignoring and how you will be held responsible for any legal issues that come about because of that. So in my case, I love scrubbing just to be safe. So we're going to go ahead and scrub it. All right, so here's a breakdown. We did have a total of 26 addresses in our list. However, it does say here that 12 contacts have been omitted due to being duplicates, having been appended already, or most likely, because I haven't done this list before, insufficient information for our third party to gather information. So because of that, it only was able to select 14. Out of the 26, 14 of them are solid enough to capture data for. And so here's the breakdown of that. So of the 14, we're going to try to capture 14 landlines. Of the 14, we're going to try to capture 2 cell phones, which is a total of 28. Of the 14, we're going to try to capture 2 emails, which is a total of 28. Your total cost is 7. Now, here's the important part, is this cost is a summary of if we're able to capture everything, right? Now, realistically, we're probably not going to get the entire list. So although you see the cost of 7, our company will only bill you for what goes through. And I'll show you that in just a second. So what happens is that our credit card or our payment will be authorized for the amount of $7. When we place that order, it's going to go through. All right, should be, there we go. Your order is complete. This process can take several minutes or more, depending on the number of contacts selected. Please check back. So we're going to go ahead and close that. Now we have that here. So here we can see all the 26 addresses. These are all the Los Angeles addresses, all the addresses that had liens. So we've saved them into our properties. We went into contacts, and now we're appending phone numbers for them. So as you can see here, the process has begun. But we also want to capture phone numbers for our cash buyers. So let's go ahead and start this process again. So we're going to select our contacts. Instead of the Los Angeles liens, we're going to select the Los Angeles cash buyers. We're going to select them and push them down to our clipboard. And we're going to go ahead and go to the next step. Obviously, we want to get as many cash buyer information as we can, so there's no need to remove anybody or modify anybody. Let's go to the next page. I want to capture as many information as I can. So yes, I want landlines. Yes, I want cell phones. Yes, I want email. Again, preference, whether you want to scrub the list on the national do not call list or not, we'll leave that up to you. Just know that there are some legal, you'll see our disclaimer. We advise you to go through that and read through that.
But just before you go any further, guys, understand how powerful this is now. You're always complaining about cash buyers. Obviously we can find sellers and stuff, and I always say buyers are easy, but this makes it even easier. So this captures a lot of information pretty much in any market. Obviously, the information is only as accurate as how it's provided to the county and the sources out there. But the bigger the market, the more information it's going to provide. So, but I just wanted to reiterate that.
No, that's a very good bring up. And I like how you mentioned the bigger the market, the more information gathered, the accuracy of that as well. So here, again, I want it to be scrubbed against the do not call list. In this case, I'm being blocked because it looks like it still hasn't completed our first list. But let's go back here really quick and let me see. I'm going to step out here. So essentially, as we're waiting, this process could take a few minutes. It should be completed in the next few minutes. But as we wait, we're gathering phone numbers, gathering emails for you. The final step of this whole process is our campaign section. So just to kind of backtrack a little bit, we started by searching properties. We typed in a zip code. We saved our template. We looked at the comps, both county and MLS comps. We ran the analysis wizard. We used the Rehab Calculator to get, to the dollar values in terms of rehab costs. We've saved the property. We've essentially appended information from those properties. And so now that you have all this information, you have your leads, you have your cash buyers, you have emails, you have phone numbers, the last and final step is to campaign. Essentially, our campaign section will allow you to create a postcard, create an email, do a voicemail drop, or even do an online ad that you can promote. So I'm going to do a quick example here. Actually, before I do that, let me see if our list is completed here. Maybe we can use that here. Please be done, please be done. Perfect. Okay, so my list is completed. That was very fast. So again, as we can see here, absolutely. So as we can see here, not everything was captured. And if we click view summary, this is where I was referring to in terms of what we charge you. So let me view that and come on, system. It makes sense. It's 4 p.m. our time. I'm sure all the kids are online right now. All right. let me see if I can step out really quick. Let me give it 2 more seconds, and then I'm going to step out and redo that. So, all right, let me step out really quick and come back and see what happens here. It may have bugged out. Let me refresh. Oh, nope. Okay, perfect. So, and what I'll do is I'll most likely use an existing list. So we've captured phone numbers, captured emails. Now we want to start a campaign. So the first thing we're going to want to do is at the upper left-hand corner, we're going to want to strike the new campaign. Here, we're going to want to name our campaign. So this is going to be the Los Angeles Liens campaign. And we're going to want to select our lists. All right. Actually, let me refresh this really quick. I'm getting, it looks like it's buffering a little bit more than it should. So hold on 1 second. Let me close out of this really quick and get back to our website. All right, we're back on. Seems like it's moving a little bit faster. Just check to make sure contacts is responding accordingly. There it is. Okay, let's, we got our list here. Let me see if the view summary. There it is. Okay, so again, backtracking, when we did the pen feature, it showed us a summary and our cost would be $7. But as we can see in the list behind here, not every address we applied was captured. So our system only bills you for what we captured. So even though our credit cards were, our payment method was authorized for $7, the final charge is only $3. So here it breaks it down. It captured 6 landlines, 10 cell phone numbers, and 14 email addresses. Okay. So here, what we can do now is we can highlight every single one of them, create a new group. So here we go. Los Angeles Liens with contacts. So we're going to go ahead and save that. All right. And so now we have our appends list here now saved to a group. We'll go to campaigns. And we'll start a new campaign. So again, Los Angeles Liens. We'll maybe put today's date so we know when we're doing that. And we're going to select our contacts group. So Los Angeles Liens with contacts here. We can edit, we can view, just to make sure that we have the emails and phone numbers. Here we do. All right. And then we're going to want to save that. So what we're doing now is we're generating and we're establishing a campaign. And just to note, you can have as many campaigns as you like. So you can have a campaign for cash buyers, a campaign for properties with liens, a campaign for vacant properties, pre-foreclosures, foreclosures. Have fun. There is no limit in sight. So once we create a campaign and save it and select our targeted list, our application is going to suggest a few things to do first. And the first thing it's going to suggest is for you to start a website. And this is really a landing page. It's a one-page website that we will host for you at no additional cost. And so if we click on that, here, it's basically a setup wizard. So starting from the top left, we have a generic domain that we provide. However, you can change your end domain name. So let's build some credibility. So we can either put our name in this case, I'll put my name in here. And then we can select a template. And we do have one that you can choose from. So we're going to use the template that we have to offer. That's what it looks like. We can enter a contact us email here. So either we can use our own username and password, or we can use a business email, or partner's email, or assistant's email, whatever the case may be. We can upload our own logos. So if you have any logos in your system, you can upload that. You'll notice the logo will be embedded here in the top left. Once we're done with that, we'll go ahead and go to the right side. And here's the editor. Here we can apply a header. For example, I understand you have liens. I'm here to help. We can change the font. We can increase the size, make it bold, italicize, underline, strike out. We can change colors. We really can have fun with it, essentially. We can put bulletins if we need to prove a point. So that's the header. Here's the body. Give me a call. I'm here to resolve all your headaches, for example.
Can you do multiple websites or just the one?
It's one landing page per campaign. So if you're doing a campaign for liens, then yes, I mean, you want to make sure that that landing page caretakes to your lien consumers. But when you start another campaign, let's say a campaign for cash buyers, you will also be given another landing page for that. So yeah, you could have as many landing pages or as many campaigns, and again, many different landing pages. So you can have no two campaigns can have the same landing page, essentially. Here we can upload our own homepage. This will replace the larger image. Maybe we want to include a photo of ourselves or our pet or our family. Additional images are these 4 little ones right here. We can maybe put some of the houses we've sold, maybe some of the families that we have helped in their situation. And then once we have all of that applied, prior to publishing it or saving it, we can actually preview what our website will look like. So here is a preview of what our landing page would look like once we publish it. And so we see the template. Are you interested? Contact us. If they hit that, it automatically opens the email that we've assigned it to. Here is our header. I understand you have liens. I'm here to help. Here is my body. Give me a call. I'm here to resolve all your headaches. And here are the additional photos that we've chosen to implement or not. Again, logos will go on the top left. And then most importantly, in the landing page is with the online application. So assuming your leads click on your web page, they like what they see, they have the ability to fill out the application down below. So their name, email, phone number, message. Very similar to the template notification. Assuming one of your leads goes here, fills out this information and hits send, you get an email notification. And again, that's whether you're on the system or not on the system. So if you're out shopping, someone goes to your website, fills this up, hits send, you're going to get a notification while you're shopping. That way, you know you're not putting them on hold. You're not coming back a few days later just to find out someone applied, 2-3 days ago and has lost interest because of your delay. So very important to note there. We can go, once we're done viewing, if we don't like what we see, we can edit. And then again, we can save and publish and go from there. So that's the website. That's usually the first thing that we recommend that you do, is to establish a website. You'll see in a moment, it all kind of ties down in a complete circle. Below the website setup bar, you'll see kind of a little snapshot of our activity. So it shows how many recipients we have, how many postcards have been sent. Of course, 0, we haven't done yet. How many impressions have been sent? In this case, online ads. Obviously 0, we haven't done that. How many emails have been clicked on if we send out emails? How many voicemails have been delivered? And then how many website visits? So if someone clicked on our emailer or listened to our voicemail or read our postcard or clicked on our online ad and they decide to go to our website, it's showing you how many visits you have. Now that's good to know, because if you're getting a lot of visits but not a lot of people applying, or filling out the application, maybe we might need to edit our website a little bit more to give more attention in a certain field, maybe add some more attention grabbers per se, to get them from not only visiting, but also applying and filling out their information. So websites created, we have our snapshot, and then we can also now begin our activity. So here, let's start with postcards. And by clicking on that, just like with the websites, it's a setup wizard. What do you want to name the postcard? Los Angeles Leans. Do you want to use the standard postcard size, or do you want to use a little bit larger? Is this a template, this postcard template that you're going to be using? Will you be using it for future postcards? We can hit yes or no, or check it off if you are. We can start with the blank postcard, or you can use some of our templates that we have. So I'll kind of show you what those look like. If we, let's say, click on number 2, that's what they look like right here. You'll see them in the background. If we don't want to use templates, we have a full-blown editor embedded in the system for you. So instead of using a template, we can start with the blank postcard. So what we'll get is the front and back side. Here we can browse our computer and implement our own images that we have. We can select colors, background colors to the postcard. If what we did on the front side, we want to duplicate on the back side, rather than having to, again, repeat your steps that you did on the front side, you can just strike the copy backside button. And then our advanced edit is pretty much the power of this whole thing. By clicking on that, you're given a blank canvas where you can pretty much have fun with. So here we can put a background image, apply it to the canvas, and drag it anywhere on the screen. We can change the background color if we want. So if, white isn't one we want, let's say we want to make it like a yellow card, we can apply that. We can put a header in here. So again, I buy you out of headaches. We can change the size, the font. And let's say we put it there, but we don't like it there. We can go completely all out with this. Body text. Put them in the lower right-hand corner. Pretty much you get the idea. We can spend as much time as you like and have a lot of fun with it. If this is, again, the same image we're going to use on the backside, simply by copying to the backside, it duplicates that for me. So here we go. And then we can add more to our header, more to the body, and then we can preview what it will look like. Looks like it probably did not save. Let me, just so I can give you a visual, let me use a template really quick so you can see what it looks like when we preview it. Here's a template. Oh, wait, and this is what our print preview button will look like. So pretty much shows you what you will be receiving at the end of the day. So this is what your postcard will look like. All right, close that. And then we have the option to either print what we've created. So we can either print them out, the front image, back image, and the contact list, and go elsewhere with it. So essentially do it ourselves, or if we hit print and mail and we don't decide to download, but we decide to click the next button, our third party will promote them for you. So in this case, out of the addresses that I've added, I believe it was 26, it will cost me $16 to get this design out to their addresses, and I can submit my order. All right, and that's our postcard.
Time frame on that, if you allow them to do it.
Absolutely. And then emailers.
No, I'm saying, what's the time frame if would have submitted those 25?
Oh, good question. Good question. So once you've completed the postcard, so and we go based on Pacific Standard Time Zone, so between the hours of 8 and 5. So if you've completed your design and submitted it, it's going to get completed and sent out by tomorrow. Usually, well, actually, they like to say tomorrow by 3 p.m., but because of, I put an asterisk on that because some of our users may have hundreds of addresses. Some of our users may have a few, right? So just to be on the safe side, it's usually about a business day or two. So once you've completed it, it takes about a business or day or two to process it and then get your mail out. And we usually do first class. So it's anywhere, after being processed, it's anywhere between 3 to 5 business days.
Okay, I made a mistake and set a timer on my recorder. We got about 6 minutes. Well, actually about 5 minutes. So go to the go to the.
Yeah, we're pretty much near the very end of it all. So
the voicemail drop next, and the online ad and the email are pretty simple.
Perfect. Okay, so on top of postcards, again, we have 3 other activities you can do: emailer, online ads, and voicemail. Voicemail drop is, again, very, I think, a very powerful tool. What this allows you to do is you can actually create a caller ID. So if you want to use your own phone number as a callback, essentially this will be the number that's displayed on the screen when we do the call drops. You might want to use a business phone number per se. So here we go. Here you can edit your own record. You can actually upload your own audio file. So if you have a recorder at home, you can record a message. If you don't have one, by striking create a new record or recording, you'll be able to get this option called obtain an audio pin. By selecting that, you'll be given an 800 number and a unique pin. Call the 800 number, apply the pin, they'll record your message for you and then embed it into our system for you. So once we either upload our own audio file or establish one using the pin, we can then select a schedule. So we can schedule it, call drops, and then we can put time frame here. So we can, make sure that our drops are going only through the hours of 6 to 8 p.m. per se. That way we're not bothering people in the middle of the night. So we want to do that, throughout the whole week. We can save that schedule. And then the last step is how many calls per minute. Very important, especially for those that might have several hundred phone numbers. You obviously want to make sure that you're not spending too much time on the call drops. For example, if you have 1,000 phone numbers, you probably do not want to do 1 call a minute. That might take you maybe 3-4 weeks to complete. Instead, you probably want to increase the number. So we're doing 30 calls a minute and go from there. Now, in terms of cost, it's 10 cents per call drop. Just like with the append feature, we will authorize the full amount, but you will only be billed for successful drops. So if the call did not go through, the phone number is non-existent, or there's no line, or if your message is cut halfway through, that doesn't count. So essentially, you won't be billed for that amount, for that drop.
Okay, just really quick, Bernie. Just to round it up, even though we didn't go through the email and the online ad, go back to the main search screen just to go over a couple of things with them. But you can get the additional training. Show them the help. Right there, you have the help section at the.
Yeah. So if you have more questions, please click on our help tab, which is located on the left side here in our toolbar. It will expand by hovering over that. By clicking on it, it will essentially redirect you to our help section, which is our video tutorial section. So it's going to, again, repeat most of the things that we've covered today and go more into detail. We have more videos to come. However, if the videos only generate more questions, or if you're still lost, at the very bottom is our support email and our customer support line. So do not hesitate to give us a call. We're going to be here to help you guys out.
All right. Yeah. Go back to the search, the main window here. Yeah, and understand, guys, as I mentioned in the opening, obviously we did that. You can build a cash buyers group and list, and you can append phone numbers for that, or you can mail out to them however you want to. As far as the research, we have the high equity properties. That would be a target pretty much for any market. If you're in the pre-foreclosures or foreclosures, those would be something, and vacant property. So, and obviously liens, he talked a great deal about those. So you're going to have quite a few options to dive into as far as generating leads. You know what I always say, either your phone needs to be ringing and or their phone needs to be ringing on a daily basis. And this tool will allow you to analyze properties, to target sellers and buyers. What else can you ask for? I was going to try to put a product like this together myself. Sean reached out to me, and I'm with Burden now with the training, but I could have never put anything together this good. So dealyourlater.com, we have the free trial of 5 days as of right now. I think that'll be pretty firm for a while. So get over there, dealyourlater.com. And Burden, we really thank you for your time, man.
Absolutely.